Hello, Ashley. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Pejic, I'm doing well. How are you today?
I couldn't be better today. You know why?
Why?
Because I slept well last night. Ha
Well,
ha
I would
ha.
like to sleep well. Give me some tips.
Totally. Well, what do you have for me
Yeah,
today?
for real. Can you give me some?
Oh,
do,
give you some tips. Sorry, I didn't hear that. I'm getting old.
yeah, what are some things that help people sleep well? Sleep through the night. That's another big one. Sleep all the way.
Well, sleep is so important in people's lives. It resets the brain. It helps with memory consolidation and your health, all kinds of stuff, immune system. The two most important forces in one's sleep, if you want to know how sleep works, how doctors think of it, there are two forces. And the first one is the circadian rhythm. That means that every so many hours when it gets dark at night, it triggers your brain to release some melatonin and it helps you feel tired and wind down. That is why it's good to have a wind down period when you're falling asleep and not to stimulate yourself and not to work against that force. Now, that's not the only force. And the other force that most people don't know about is called the homeostatic force. And that's simply a force that builds up and makes you sleepy the longer you stay asleep. So imagine if people took a nap middle of the day or in the early evening and then they're trying to fall asleep. Their homeostatic force is not as strong because they paid some of their sleep debt too early in the day. You need these two forces, the circadian and the homeostatic, to overlay to help initiate sleep at nighttime. So that is one thing folks should know about. Next, they should consider their sleep hygiene. We talk about sleep hygiene. It's basically sleep habits. And in line with those forces, one should really wind down by putting their jammies on, going to the bathroom, turning off their phone, things like that. If they're going to use a phone, they should not watch emotionally galvanizing content, and the light on their screen should not be very bright. I would recommend the lowest settings, and also turning on the night shift. And Apple iPhones have iShift or night shift, where you get the yellow into the phone, or excuse me, you strip away the blue light from the phone. Anywho, most people probably know a little bit something about that. Along with good sleep hygiene is understanding how caffeine and alcohol can affect one's body. Caffeine has and I'm drinking a half decaf coffee right here. See this coffee in Psychiatry. Look at that representing um, the caffeine sticks around in your body longer than most people think. So it's usually around 7 hours for its half-life. That means the time it takes for half of the substance to get out of your body. And if you drink caffeine at noon or 2 p.m. even, it might be lingering later in the evening for those people who have trouble sleeping. But it's hard to walk back caffeine after you've been using a lot of it, so you kind of have to do it incrementally. Alcohol can stimulate your brain too. So if people are drinking in the evening, they might have trouble with their sleep satisfaction, like the quality of their sleep. It can affect sleep architecture. Sometimes it stimulates people where they don't want to go to bed. Sometimes it makes them tired. But as your body is metabolizing off the alcohol, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, people wake up, then they have like kind of a rebound effect, but they don't connect it with the alcohol that they drank 5 hours earlier. So that's something to consider. And then there's just stress. People have stress, and they're going to need to manage that stress either with medication or therapy or meditation. What's even worse is folks who can't get to sleep and then they worry about not sleeping. It's like a compound effect. And I love working with those folks because it's really easy to fix it on my end. I mean, we do it artfully, but it's these folks are really suffering. It's terrible. So that's a major issue. And I'll talk about kind of the medications too a little bit. There's over-the-counter medications that can be melatonin, which harnesses that circadian rhythm. And then the rest of the medications make you tired by blocking histamine, and that can lead to a hangover effect. And that's what like Benadryl does, or Unisom. And those are over the counter. There's also like magnesium, L-theanine. You get all kinds of products that you can get over the counter. Problem is, they either make you feel hungover, or dry your eyes out, your mouth out, or they're just simply not effective. So when they're not effective, I recommend that people just go see an expert psychopharmacologist that knows about this, or talk to their family doctor. So psychiatric medications that can help out sometimes are things like Ambien. Sometimes we use benzodiazepines, and then sometimes we use things like trazodone or Seroquel. Now, this is not medical advice for folks out there specifically. They have to be very careful what they pick, because these meds have significant side effects and need to be prescribed expertly. So I want to say that. But there are several different medications out there that can work. There's even a type of Ambien that we give in the middle of the night that you take under your tongue, that when it dissolves, it helps you get to sleep, or back to sleep very quickly, for those people who have middle insomnia, which is, it's in the middle of the night from maybe like, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. to, 4 or 5 a.m. when people wake up in the middle, but then they go back to sleep, and then they wake up like at 8 a.m. When they're ready to go to work or whatever. So that's some of the medication stuff. Aside from that would be environmental factors. If someone has a dog in the bed, a bright light from the street that's coming through their curtains, they have a partner that's kind of rolling around in bed or snoring, if they have the LED lights blinking, or a TV on, or they left some earbuds in and they have like the replay of the podcast they're listening to, that type of stuff can obviously affect people's sleep. If it's too hot, usually you want it kind of colder in the room. So these are things I talk to patients about, and sometimes they're surprised because they really haven't thought about like how humid it is in the room and how that has been a problem, and although it might seem obvious. And then the last couple things are medical things that keep people up, and namely is sleep apnea. When folks are waking up in the middle of the night and they can't get back to bed, or they're having awakenings and they don't know why they're awake, I often suspect sleep apnea. That's when folks are relaxed and their neck is relaxing and it's collapsing on their breathing pipe, their trachea, and they don't breathe correctly, and their oxygen levels tank, and it wakes them up because they're under stress when you don't have oxygen. That can really affect people. It can put strain on your heart. It can cause high blood pressure. It can cause you to feel tired the next day, not want to work out. You end up gaining weight, and then it worsens the whole thing. And it requires a sleep study to get diagnosed and treated for it. So there's a whole mini sleep lecture. Probably a lot more to talk about, but that's what I have for you.
Well, let me sneak in a bonus question.
Totally.
Folks who wake up in the middle of the night, maybe they get 2 or 3 hours of sleep in. I always hear differing things. Should you stay in bed or should you get out of bed? What's your take on it?
Wait, so if folks do what, 2 or 3 hours?
Like if they've slept for 3 hours and then all of a sudden they're up, whether it's stress related,
yeah.
just can't settle down and sleep more. What do you recommend? Should they stay in the bed and relax, or should they get up?
Usually I'd recommend to get out of the bed, and the bed should be used for intimate time with one's partner and for sleep. But beyond that, it's best not to do too many active things in the bed. Even reading sometimes can be stimulating, right? So if somebody wakes up in the middle of the night and they're like stirring, I say, well, get out and go do something outside of the bed. So you're not cueing yourself, by getting out of the bed and reading like on a couch or something. When you start to yawn and feel tired, then you go back to bed, and you're combining the tiredness with the bed, and that is like a behavioral cue. In other words, the bed makes you want to sleep. Whereas if you stay in the bed and you're doom scrolling and you're on your phone, say you're texting people or whatever, then the bed is like a living habitat, like where you're awake. It's like an awake habitat, let's call it. And you want to try to avoid that. Sorry, that was a really complex thing. I could have said that much better.
That's very smart. And I think back to like my college years though, when I was living in a dormitory
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
that was my only piece of furniture. What should folks do for that?
Man, hang on tight. They got white knuckle their freshman year.
Just make it through those couple of
Dude,
years.
I've never been more sick during my freshman year, from all like the close encounters with other people there, and got more sleep than I've ever gotten because you're so tired at times, but then less sleep than I've ever gotten. And yeah, in a dorm situation is just not a good one, probably. But if they're in a dorm situation, they can't sleep, then they got to do the earplug thing, night mask it up. I
Mhm.
love me a good night mask, but you got to get the one that has like the dome so it doesn't like touch your eyelids, you know. My wife recently got me one. Don't make fun, but it's it's a night mask that has like headphones built in, so you
Oh,
put it
that's
on, and then like you do a Star Trek thing where you tap the front of it and it like tethers to your phone and it's like now engaged, and so I'll listen to things on there. And I'm probably breaking my own rule where you don't want to be too stimulated by things, but sometimes I'll listen to like nice calming music, or I'll listen to like, I don't know, a Bitcoin podcast or something like that.
yeah, I have a couple of podcasts that I'll follow, and it's like a snoozy sounding lady reading nonsense fairy tales to you, so your brain can't really follow along.
A snoozy sounding lady, that's funny.
Yeah, and she's just talking to you so quietly and so nicely like this the whole
Like in her
time.
NPR voice.
Yeah, a nice little NPR lady.
Sounds
She
like
does
you have
that
a bond there. That's good.
hopefully you're asleep by then.
I need to hear this lady talk. That would be good for me. Calm down the brain.
I'll send you the link.
All right, awesome. Well, listen, good talking to you again. Hope you get some good sleep tonight.
Thank you. Me too.
All right. See you later.